This is the TESSALink Web walkthrough for internal use only. And after I log in, we're going to go through the order of steps to set up your demo account properly. The first thing we're going to do is go down here to Settings and click Themes. I can change if you like a different if you like a different theme. You can change these here. Any way you want. This is a tenant setting. I can update the banner logo, which goes here, and then I've got my report header logo here and my report footer logo here as well. These should be PNGs, and we will be adding the recommended dimensions here in short time. Okay, now that I've got my themes done, I need to go to my licenses. I need to make sure that I have all the licenses that I need to support not only what I want to do, but the dependent things. So the dependent licenses that I need to create as well. So when I create licenses, if I know I want to do asset management, I need to make sure that I create some location and status management add-ons as well, or licenses as well, because the asset management add-on is dependent upon having the location and status. So start with location and status, then go to asset management, and then add whatever things you need after that. Okay, so the next thing up is users after licenses. Now that I've got my licenses in place, I can do my users. So if you click on your user, you're not going to get anything. You actually might get an error here that will say that you cannot add licenses to yourself. Here it is. So since you are an info chip administrator, which means you're on the support level of things, you cannot you don't really need to give yourself licenses, but licenses work like this. If I create a new user, and I'll just call him Bob Smith, Bob at infochip.com. I can give him an employee number optionally. I can upload a signature image here. So on my form templates, I can create a form field called signature. I can import the signature image from this here, or I can have them sign it live with their finger. So here I can choose which devices apply, which ones I would want to restrict or grant. Limited features, location and status management. We're just going to go ahead and activate those. See my number go from 6 to 5 there, and then I can go ahead and activate asset management. Now, if this is not active, it will tell me that, hey, you need a location and status management add-on for you to activate asset management. So we'll go here, activate asset management. Now I've got this. I'm going to go ahead and give this guy the ability to see forms and document management. Just give him the whole run there. And then I can go in and apply my role. We'll make him a standard user, and then I'll hit the save button. There we go. Okay, now that I've got all my users set up, I can go ahead and start building my asset management tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is build some tags. And what tags do is allow me to search and filter lots of different categories and form templates and workflow templates in any way I choose. So the purpose behind a tag is to allow people to find and organize things the way they want, still giving them the ability to create categories how they want to, create asset templates the way they want to. And you'll notice that we don't have any category details or category groups anymore. We're just going straight from tags, and then we'll go into asset templates a little later once we get through a couple extra things here. So imagine tags as the way I would do this is know the categories that you're going to be building, know the asset templates that you're going to be building, and create tags to help yourself search for those things. So I've got a list of 10 or 11 here. I've got my chain slings, grab hooks, because the chain sling I'm going to create has grab hooks. I've got lifting forms. That's for my form templates that I'll use later. All of your tags are here, and you can use your tags for asset templates, assets, form templates, workflow templates, and forms. So once you build, you just add a tag here, and you can call it whatever you want, and you've got your list. Now tags will be global, so when you create an asset and your customer receives that asset, they will see the tags that you have given your assets. But if they were licensed, they could go and add their own tags to be able to search and filter the way they want to as well. So now you've got their tags and your tags working together to create the perfect situation for both parties, and it still allows you to see those assets and use them the way you want without having to lock things down. So I've got my tags in place here, and I'm moving on. So after tags, I'm going to create manufacturers. So this is, I can create any manufacturer I want. It's a global list. Just hit the add button there. And then I can use that to apply to asset templates later. Once I'm done with my manufacturers, I'm going to go ahead and skip over to customers here, and I can build a new customer. We'll just call this one offshore rigging. Fill in the required email. And saved my stuff there. And then I'm going to create this guy. There, created my customer. So once I create my customers, I can go into locations, and I can choose the customer that I want to create locations for. You will not have the root location for yourself, but you will have it for the customers that you create. So I can just go in here and add one. We'll say rigging loft. I can give it a coordinate if I want to, but I don't have to. If I give it a coordinate, I'll show you what that looks like. If I give a coordinate, then I get a little map here. And any assets that I create under this location will assume these coordinates until it's scanned with a mobile device. If I want to see the hierarchy, just click this little button here. I can drop this down any way I want to. Also on the hierarchy, I can collapse and expand all. Okay, now that I've created my category or my locations, I can go ahead and start building some categories. So the categories are just references to all these tags. So I can still view my tree here. I've got a small tree built out. I can still view my data the way I always have. If I'm coming over from vCurrent, I actually need to update this and make the parent category. Chain slings here. Save that. So my hierarchy looks correct. So I actually need to, all I need to do here is create categories and assign them parents. So I'll create a new one, and we'll call this wire rope slings. And we will say that is under slings. We're going to give this a few tags. So I've got wire rope, and it's definitely slings. So I've got that. And then I can go create single leg wire rope sling. And I can make this parent. And then I'll have single leg slings wire rope. Ooh, and I'm also going to give it my categories. So now I'm starting to organize things in a way where if I search in the hierarchy here, if I search for slings, I will get everything under this list. Now I don't want to put wire rope up here because then I will get, when I search for wire rope, I'll get everything underneath it. So anywhere where a tag is associated to a category, I want to make sure that that tag is appropriate for the category that it's assigned to, and anything below it. So just make sure that you're thinking of that. Now that I've created categories, I can go ahead and start creating my attributes. I've got a few here already. To create an attribute, I just hit the plus sign, and I can go in here and say, we'll just say construction, and this is a text field, and hit the save button there. So if it's a number field, that means I want to do some sort of calculation or conversion, and it's going to require a UOM. Date and date time are going to be a date picker here, and then a time and date stamp. Drop down, you're going to have the ability to add values. Boolean is a true false type of thing. And text, you can just enter whatever you'd like. Okay, and before we leave asset management for the time being, we're going to create some attachment labels. So I've got some set up here. When I create a new attachment label, we'll just call this maintenance guide. I want to choose to sync. When I hit the sync button, it's going to sync these types of documents. And when I'm using this attachment label, I will be in the context of adding an attachment to an asset, but not a form. So just hit the button here. Oh, it already exists. If it tells me it already exists, we'll just say something else here. We'll say inspection instruction. There we go. So we're going to jump over to the forms add-on. We need to set up some forms and form templates before we go back to asset management and create our asset templates, because part of those asset templates will be the forms that we're about to create. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually go to tags and create some tags for my form templates. I've got some here already. I've got lifting forms. I've got test bench. Anything that you feel like would separate those types of forms. Now these aren't form types, but this is a way that you can search by form types. But if you want to organize your form templates by industry, if you want to fill them out by customer, you can have a tag for a customer name, and these are all the forms I fill out for Shell. These are all the forms I fill out for any customer. So you can start organizing your form templates much in the way that you are, and your completed forms much in the way that you're doing that for your asset templates and your assets. Okay, now that I've got my tags in place, I can go over to form types. Here's where I can define the type of work I'm doing. I've got some set up here. To create a new form type, you just hit the button and add the form type name, and then it will pop up here. And then when we create form templates, you can use that to better organize what type of work you're doing. From form types, we can go to form templates and build our form. So I'm going to open up this form template here. I've got the form name, the report title. I can update this, or it's going to, by default, it will fill this in for me with whatever form name I put there, but I can go here and change this if I want to. I choose the form type from the list of form types that I created earlier. I can import a form diagram, which will be accessible during the form fill process. Then I've got my tags that I can apply here. And then I can fill out my sections. So to add a new section, I just hit this, and it will add a new section. I can actually collapse these just so I don't have to scroll down so much. And I've got my new section here. And then inside that section, I can create new tasks. and there's a couple different task types. So I can make a drop down, I can make a signature. We'll just call this signature here. And I can choose whether or not this is a pass-fail. This is just a signature, so it's not, and I can choose whether or not it's required. So if it is a pass-fail, what I can do is I'll just copy this, delete this really fast. So I will add a field to this section, paste that in there, and I can just say this is required. And if I click this, it's going to change this type to a drop-down and fill in these default values for me. So then I can go here, and then I can update these values. So the first value is always pass, second value is always fail, then I can add whatever in any values that I want to after that. So with the data types, you have a couple options. You have the date and date time. You have drop downs where you can create your own values, numbers. It will only accept numbers and decimals, and signature and text where you could type anything you'd like. Okay, now that I've got my form templates, I can go and set up workflow templates. So we're going to open this one up here. Actually, we'll create a new one. We'll say workflow number 2, and we can assign those tags here, and we will say this is for workflows, and this is for lifting forms, and this is for slings. So here I've got my design tool, and I can add in a node, which is a part of the process, and those nodes come from the form templates that you've built. So I'm gonna create a new node with a new form called that's my form template, and I can add that to the box here. If I hold Control and scroll down with my mouse wheel, I can zoom out. I can also pan this around and center it if I need to. Once I click on this, I'm going to get some options up here. I'm going to be able to add a pass node and a fail node. So what this is telling me is that if this form passes, what do I want to happen? So I'll click pass. I'm going to add in a new node and click the test bench form, click add. So now I've got when this passes, fill out the test bench form. But what happens when it fails? I want you to try. I'm going to create a new node called repair form. So on the repair form, you'll notice that this is a flag here and not a pass fail. This is because on the form template option that asks me, is this a pass fail form? I left it blank. I did not check that box. So this is not a pass fail type form. This form can be completed or not completed. So when this form completes, what do I want to happen? I want to fill out a new node, and I want you to do the inspection again. Now, you'll ask, why did I not just route this back here? Okay, because I can, and I'll show you that here. So here, what I want to do, if this passes, I can go to an existing node and say, I need it here on the proof test. So now I've got this nice little loop, and I could end it here. But if this fails a second time, I'm just going to go ahead and scrap it, and I don't want to be stuck in a loop. So if the best way to tell people to when they're building workflows is to verbally out loud walk through the process. So if I am building this form and it fails, then I'll go here. Once it completes, I'll go here. If it fails, I'll go here. Once it completes, I'll go here. And then I'll get stuck in this loop verbally, and then I'll understand, oh, I need to make a new node instead of rerouting to an existing node. And if I have the same form on this on one workflow, I'll get the number of the step here. So when I drop this down and choose an existing form, I get the number here. So if I see a 4 here, I click a 4 here. So that looks good to me, and then I can just end everything. So if this passes, just reorganize that just a little bit. If this passes, it ends. If it fails, it ends. If this fails, it ends. If this passes, it will go to the proof test. So there, I feel good about that. And I can go ahead and save it. So now I've got my workflow templates. So once I get my workflow templates all set, I can go back and start setting up my asset templates. So we're going to go ahead and update an asset template that already exists here. I can type in a model number, choose a manufacturer and a part number. My tags will come in. We're going to add the category selector here so it would apply the tags, but right now I can apply them just by searching here. Add in a description, upload an asset image and diagram, and here's my attributes. So asset templates work a little bit differently now. So I am now able to create what's called a master asset template. So let's go ahead and do that really fast. So we'll call this model number ABC123. We'll say the manufacturer is Ford Motor Company. We're going to call this a master asset template. So you'll notice that when I chose the master asset template checkbox, the part number went away. That's because for master asset templates, part numbers are not required. So for here, we're going to make a chain sling. We'll make it single leg again. We will make it, let's see here, we'll make it with grab hooks. So we will say basic single leg chain sling. Choose an image. I can choose a diagram if I want to. We'll say here. And then I can go add my attributes. We'll say chain diameter is important, length is important, working load limit, fitting A, fitting B. So so for your master asset templates, you may not have values, right? You might, but you might not, and that's okay because you don't know. You're not going to necessarily know what that person is going to put in. So imagine this: if you're thinking about the ICO, this is your category attribute setup, but this is more direct towards the asset template. So I'm building my basic when I choose a category. Show me just my blank attributes type of thing. So I can put my schedules and forms here. I'll say that's good, and then I can add any attachments that I want to. Training brochure. We'll hit save. So now that I've created this, what this is going to do for me is that I can go in and clone this, choose a part number, ABC123001, and then I can clone it. Oops, I clicked out of that box there. So now I've got a clone that I can actually go fill in the values for. So imagine the master asset templates as a template for all the templates that you're going to build. So now I see my master asset template, and I can filter by what my master asset templates are. And then I've also got my brand new part number there. Now that I've created my asset templates, we can go over here to document management and create a new document. So here I'm just going to import this user manual, choose this just like any other document here. Then I can choose my revision number, add in a description, and we'll just say user manual chain sling. And so I'm working with a draft here, so I can go delete this draft without affecting any revisions. So if this was revision 2, I can work with a draft and delete it without actually changing my revision number. So it won't affect my customers or employees. Once I feel good about this draft, I can go ahead and submit it. And now we're locked in, right? Now we've got a revision number and we're working inside this revision. If I need to delete this document and create a new one, I would create a 1.1 or a 1.2. So if I have the approver and rejector permission on for document management, I can go ahead and approve something and then it's ready to publish. And then I can publish this and I can choose which part numbers to publish it to. So I can search here for all those different things, and then I can choose, well, I'm just going to go ahead and apply this to all of my part numbers. And I'm going to drop it down here. It's going to ask me if I have asset templates that are connected to existing assets, if I want to publish the new version of that asset to all of the assets that have these part numbers. And I can say yes or no. For right now, I'm going to say no. So anything new that I create will have this this revision. Anything older will not. And so that's how you kind of control that documentation based on the date. Now that I've created some assets, I want to go and have my customer have the ability to reorder. So the first thing I need to do is create a reorder contact. We're just going to make this myself and give it an email. It doesn't have to be a user in the system. It's just going to be an email, and I can give it a description if I want to. Then what I can do is I can check this box here and assign it to the different customers that I have. So if you've got different sales guys for different regions, I can pick which customers this guy's responsible for, or I can apply them in bulk to everyone. So we're just going to give this to this guy. And now I've got some reorder contacts. A contact, I can go in here and click the detail button of any asset, or your customer can, and hit the reorder button. So I'm just going to put in an order number here, choose the quantity, we'll make it 2, choose my reorder contact, and I'm going to include the attributes. This is going to send an email with the list of all the attributes that I want, and then hit the save button. Once I hit the save button, it's going to reorder it. It's going to log it. It's going to send an email, but it'll also log it in my reorder tracking screen, and I can go in here and see what has happened. So as the receiver of this reorder, I can go and say, okay, I've read the order. I haven't done anything yet. Or I could say, well, we've shipped 1. So we've shipped a partial. So we should ship partial. There we go. So we've set that out. So I can see now that I've 1 out of the 2 is shipped partial. So then I can go in here and actually update this and send 2 and then close it out. There we go. And then as the receiver, I can go in here and say I've received it. So now he can go and once it's received, it kind of closes out. You can edit it. But so now you have a way of communicating inside of the app itself where reorders are, as opposed to relying on email. So what also I can do is go in here and clone an asset. So if I go in here and put in, let's say, this here and then change that to 7, I can hit clone. It's just going to create a new asset for me instead of me having to go find the part number and do all that. So I can clone directly from here. So let's say I want to do mass action here. So I can choose a few. The mass actions button is here. I can apply an asset template, which means it will overwrite whatever attribute information, schedule data, any of that stuff with whatever part number I choose here. I can apply attachments, 1 attachments to many asset. I can edit specific properties of an asset. So I can edit the owner, do like a transfer, location, expiration date, status, description. I can add attributes, add schedules, all those different things. I can also fill forms in bulk and reorder in bulk. Okay, now that I still got my assets selected here, I can create a list. So I select the assets and hit the add to asset list, and I can go and name this. So I'm going to name it Dylan's list. So this is a list of things that Dylan has to do today. I'm going to make it visible to myself and hit the save button. So once I create this list, I can go refresh this over here. It's actually going to give me a list of tasks to do. So all of these are due on the 27th. So I could go here and see my list. If I make this list, if I go and edit this list and make it available to everyone, it will actually show up in the all tasks. So anybody could go and click on this and go fill and go complete any forms that were due here.